Hey, what up, guys? Welcome back. I just want to give some really quick thoughts on all of the second round playoff series. We've seen at least a game from all of them now, and I just have a lot of thoughts that I'm realizing nobody is ever going to care about if I tweet them. Obviously, I'm new to all this stuff, and you have to make it into a video for anybody to care. So we're just going to do it. All right. Number one, I'm going to jump into the series playing the second game soonest, which is Indiana and New York. Here are my really big takeaways from game one. Number one, Indiana earned this game, basically. I know everybody just wants to talk about the refs. Enough time has passed to where everybody understands that that is an atrocious call, and the only joke I have about that is if the opposite scenario were to happen to New York, I just get flashbacks to the Capitol Hill in Seattle during the BLM protests. Like, I think it would be that, but worse. Like, I just can't imagine a scenario where the Knicks get screwed that much and there isn't, like, a complete shutdown of the city and they don't burn everything. If any Knicks fans somehow actually listen to this, I just really, really hope you guys remember that game, okay? Indiana is a very, very, very formidable opponent, specifically for your team when it comes to the pace, when it comes to the energy on rebounds and things like that. The fact that Indiana had 6 more possessions total, they forced New York into twice as many turnovers, 7. They scored 9 more points off of turnovers, and they limited the Knicks to only having 1 more offensive rebound. Next, they let Brunson cook, and they all but earned the win. So I get flashbacks to Luka and Jokic and everybody being like, well, you have to pick your poison. Do you want to let him try to beat you on his own, or do you want to let him get more assists and let his teammates try and win the game? They chose the former, and it almost worked. It literally was so close to working. I think we fall in love with just raw production stats and numbers, and granted, averaging 40-plus points is very, very impressive. But Indiana is letting that happen. That is Brunson eating Andrew Nembhard, second-year Andrew Nembhard, alive, and his team barely won, okay? Their paint defense is notoriously atrocious because they have their wings stay on the wings, and therefore the paint is more open, and they let Nembhard try to guard Brunson one-on-one. They don't help. And so Brunson is very talented, and he is going to get his. And on top of that, him, much like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and much like Joel Embiid, are not only extremely talented shooters and finishers, but what makes them elite and not just great is they are manipulators. They are good at everything, so then you don't know what they're going to do, and then they get you, and then they go to the free throw line. Jalen Brunson went 14 of 14 from the free throw line. Again, I'm not saying this approach is in bad faith and is killing the league, but I think it's time the world realizes how much of an underdog bias we all have, because Jalen Brunson approaches the game like a baby Joel Embiid. Seriously. And people are going to have shock value reactions like, no, he earns all of his stuff. He's so good. What? Dude, everything I just said applies directly to Joel Embiid. The reason he gets clowned on is because when he embellishes contact at 7'1", 290 pounds, it looks a bit ridiculous, especially when there actually isn't that much contact. But Brunson can throw himself at the slightest contact like he just got thrown out of a plane. And nobody is really gonna clown him for it. It's pretty obvious when he does flop, and fair. But again, the margin of outlandish reactions to a Brunson flop versus an Embiid flop are orders of magnitude different. But they're the same exact approach. We are so biased towards smaller guards always getting the benefit of the doubt. And it truly ends up becoming a meaningful advantage. And I'm going to get to Oklahoma City in a little bit, but that is really, really the case. They are allowed to embellish contact more, and they're also allowed to get away with more contact. The things I do want to say about the final foul calls are, obviously, that is an atrocious way to end a game. It makes absolutely no sense when you can watch the replay and cover your eyes and press play on literally any possession of the game and there was a worse screen being set, and you decide to call that one on a possession that is so last possession that Brunson was literally subbed out of the game. Like, you could not get more last possession down to the wire, down one, than that exact moment, and you decide to do that. Absolutely shameful, and I truly, truly hope whatever insider penalties that the refereeing committee or whatever people say that they do, like when referees blow calls, they're like, yeah, no, we punish our guys, like when they're not doing it. I really hope that's the case, because, man, I don't even know Indiana. I've been there, maybe. I don't even know if I've been there, honestly. That sucks. That is absolutely shameful to do that. And back to how I started this, it would be World War III if this happened to the Knicks. And I am just so sorry for my that's not right. To my Indiana brethren, because that is just shameful and appalling, and I'm so sorry. And that's not even talking about the kickball. The kickball, I don't know. If people say they were watching it on the TV and they were like, oh, I totally saw that, I don't really believe it. It really didn't look that obvious from the TV angle, at least. But again, the referees are literally on the court. They should probably have been able to see that. I don't know. But I'm sorry. I just go right back to the screen. That is unbelievably shameful, and I'm going to stop there. But what I did find really admirable, maybe a slight silver lining out of it, was Indiana as a unit responded to it the best I've ever seen a group respond to literally the officials costing them this game. So I love watching post games. I think it's very insightful. The people side of the league, it just adds so much depth and excitement and the storylines and all that stuff. Rick Carlisle, Halliburton, and Miles Turner, like all three of them, of course they were asked by the reporters foaming at the mouth to try to get a soundbite and blow this whole thing out of the water. Dude, all three of them were just so chill about it. What Carlisle basically said when he was asked about it, really just so uninterested at the question. He was basically like, yeah, we didn't expect to get any calls. And this was baked into the game plan. This was baked into the preparation, was this is probably going to happen. And ultimately, we can't allow ourselves to have the refs do what we think they probably will. And it was echoed and mirrored in his actual guys on the roster. And I don't think it wasn't defeated, but it was like very calculated. It was very like they had fought this demon lifetimes ago and they weren't even interested in even discussing it at all. I just have to say, extremely professional, very well done. Congratulations to the Pacers. I have really no right to be this upset about it, but I hope they know that we can safely assume the whole world is on their side on that. That is, even Knicks fans are like, that was insane. So, other things. Halliburton, Miles, Turner, two-man game is awesome. Turner can get mad wide open threes on Hardenstein and Robinson all day if he wants. And then he also was getting basically uncontested rim attempts too. So really just elite tandem that I just didn't really recognize before. Siakam can't make free throws anymore. He was shooting some free throws in the third quarter. And I think they said in the postseason up until that point, I don't know now, but up until that point, he was 12 for 28, which is under 50% for those of you who aren't math majors. And then the other thing I want to say is read the matchup room. So real quick, Shepard was plus 13 in 17 minutes. TJ McConnell was plus 9 in 22 minutes. Jackson was plus 5 in 13 minutes. Obi Toppin was plus 4 in 19 minutes. And basically everybody else was very, very negative. Obviously, these are bench guys, limited minutes. But the thing to point out there, two things. One, New York does not have a bench. So you can't be like, oh, they're playing a weaker lineup. New York plays 6.5 guys. So if somebody is positive, they're actually positive. Two, what do all those guys have in common? They're all hyper energy guys. Jackson, Toppin, they're hyper athletes, hyper just energy guys, whatever, to have on the floor. Back to my original point, Indiana could not be more different from the Knicks stylistically if they wanted to be. They are pace, go, more shots, more movement, whatever. The Knicks are very old school. We are winning the possession war through fierce offensive rebounding and not turning the ball over, and we're just going to be really slow and get really set in the half court and blah, blah, blah. I just don't think it should be that much of a surprise that the most high energy guys that you played in this game were the most positive by far. Specifically Jackson, I just want to say, had in my notes, especially towards the end of the first quarter, start of the second quarter, his energy, rebounding, and on defense, I just think is amazing. I think you literally have to play Jackson. Even if it's at the 4, he's just got to get minutes, man. That dude is an energy ball, and when you're playing the Knicks and with Josh Hart and these crazy rebounding guards, you got to get energy guys to get the boards from them. And love Miles Turner, 2 rebounds in this entire game. Not good. Not good at all. So think about that. All right. The last thing, suicide laps for 40-plus minutes a game sounds horrendous. Indiana knows that the Knicks don't have a bench. So what does that mean? Go fast. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. And you saw it on a handful of clips that were the shiniest and brightest moments for the Pacers is when they're just literally moving the ball. Obviously, they're coached and conditioned to not have the ball stick and do all that stuff. But there were more than a handful of plays where I just felt like I saw the exact textbook kind of possession that Indiana is going for, where they're not necessarily getting great shots in their first 3 or 4 looks. But the 6th or 7th look, after literally everyone on their team has touched the ball twice or something, by that time, they're getting really good looks. And yeah, we'll see. The longer the series goes, I'm not kidding. I really, really think it benefits Indiana, man. And again, we can fall in love with Jalen Brunson averaging 40 points and whatever. They had a 1-point lead. And again, we can fight hypotheticals all we want or whatever. I know the Knicks still had the lead or whatever, but Indiana very well could have won this game. And unfortunately for them, I think it probably limits the series from 7 games, just because I think even if Indiana were to win this first game, it was still going to go 7 regardless. Maybe bring that down to 5 or 6. But we'll see. All right.